The orphanage sat on the edge of the colony, where the red dust of the planet seemed to settle in every corner. It was a quiet place, filled with children from many worlds. Some were human, some alien, and some were mixtures of both. Most of them had lost their families or had never known one. But for the children, the orphanage was all they had. It was meant to be safe. Yet not all children were welcomed equally. Lyra, a young alien girl, had learned this lesson the hard way. She was small and thin, with soft, pale lavender skin that seemed to glow faintly when she was nervous or scared. Her eyes were large, round, and bright green, and little crystal-like ridges ran along her forearms. Her appearance made other children stare, and the staff often whispered behind her back. Lyra tried to stay out of trouble. She helped clean the rooms, swept the floors, and even helped younger children with their lessons. She wanted to be liked. She wanted to belong, but no matter how much she tried, the staff seemed to treat her differently. Lyra, step aside. The head caretaker, Mrs. Darnell, said one morning. Her voice was sharp, her tone cold. You're not needed here today. Lyra froze. She had been helping carry trays of food to the dining hall. But I can help, she said softly. Mrs. Darnell shook her head. We have enough hands. You are just in the way. Lyra lowered her head and kept quiet. She had heard these words before, but it never got easier. After breakfast, she tried to find some small job, some task to prove she belonged, but every time she started, someone stopped her. The other children avoided her too. Humans and aliens alike gave her strange looks. They whispered, called her names she didn't understand, or stared at her glowing skin as if it were something dangerous. Lyra felt alone. By the time the sun was high in the sky, Lyra had been pushed into the corner of the playground. She hugged her knees and watched as the other children played. She wanted to join, wanted to laugh, but every attempt ended in disappointment. Then came the final blow. The head caretaker called her into the office. Her stomach twisted in fear. Lyra, Mrs. Darnell said, we cannot keep you here anymore. What? Lyra's voice shook. I've done nothing wrong. I help with everything. Mrs. Darnell did not soften. You are different. We cannot place you in a human family, and alien families refuse to take you because of your appearance. You are a burden. It is best you leave. Lyra's heart stopped. She could not believe what she was hearing. Leave? Alone? Where would she go? The orphanage had been her home, the only place she knew. She could not imagine surviving outside. I don't have anywhere else, she whispered. Mrs. Darnell did not answer. She only handed Lyra a small bag with a few personal items, a thin blanket, some clothes, and a small picture of a star she had drawn long ago. Then she opened the door and gestured sharply. Go, now. Lyra stepped out slowly, feeling the weight of every stare. She walked through the dusty streets of the colony, clutching her small bag. The other children watched from the orphanage windows, some curious, some pitying, but none came to help. The streets were busy with humans and aliens alike. Cargo vehicles rumbled past, and merchants shouted over the noise. Lyra kept close to the walls, trying not to be seen. Her glowing skin flickered faintly as she moved, making her feel even more exposed. Hours passed, and hunger gnawed at her stomach. She had never had to find her own food before. Every market stall seemed too far or too expensive. She wandered aimlessly, hoping someone would notice her, hoping someone would care, but nobody did. As the sun began to set, the streets grew quieter. The shadows stretched long, and the cold crept in. Lyra hugged herself, shivering. She had nowhere to sleep, nowhere to hide. The loneliness pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. Then, a loud rumble echoed behind her. A cargo loader, moving faster than it should, came toward her. She froze in terror. There was no time to jump aside. Suddenly, a strong hand grabbed her shoulder and yanked her back just as the vehicle passed. Lyra fell to the ground, trembling. She looked up to see a human man kneeling in front of her. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. His brown hair was messy, and his blue eyes looked concerned. I think so," Lyra whispered. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said. "I'm Evan," he said. "Why are you out here all alone?" Lyra hesitated. She had learned not to trust humans, not to trust anyone. But something about Evan's voice, the way he looked at her, made her want to speak. Slowly, she told him everything. The orphanage, the caretaker, how no one wanted her, and how she had nowhere to go. Evan listened quietly, his brow furrowed. When she finished, he frowned deeply. "That's terrible. No child should be treated like that. You shouldn't be out here alone." I don't know what to do," Lyra said softly, her eyes filling with tears. Evan stood and extended his hand. "Come with me. I can help you." Lyra stared at him, unsure. She had never had someone offer real help before. Slowly, she took his hand, and together they walked to his home. The house was small, but warm. There were pictures on the walls of humans, children laughing, and bright stars painted on some frames. Evan offered her a meal, and Lyra cautiously tried the food. It was different from what she had eaten before, but it filled her stomach and eased her hunger. After eating, she sat quietly in the corner, afraid to move too much. Evan noticed and knelt beside her. "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid. You're safe here." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a small flicker of hope. She nodded slightly. She did not fully trust him yet, but he had shown her kindness. That was something she had rarely experienced. That night, Evan gave her a blanket and made a small bed for her in the corner of his room. Lyra lay down, staring at the ceiling. The stars outside the window looked familiar, like the ones she had drawn long ago. She whispered a small, shaky thank you. Evan smiled gently. "Sleep well, Lyra. Tomorrow is a new day." And for the first time, Lyra felt that maybe, just maybe, she could have a tomorrow that was not full of fear. The next morning, Lyra woke up to sunlight streaming through the small window. She rubbed her eyes and looked around Evan's room. Everything felt different from the orphanage. There was no cold floor, no harsh voices, no children pointing at her or calling her names. Instead, there was warmth, quiet, and a sense of safety. Evan was already up, preparing breakfast in the small kitchen. He turned and smiled when he saw her awake. "Good morning, Lyra. Did you sleep well?" "8 bar glow." Lyra nodded shyly. I think so." "That's good," he said, pouring 2 mugs of a hot drink. "Here, try this." She took a small sip and felt the warmth spread through her chest. It was unlike anything she had ever tasted before. It made her feel cared for. After breakfast, Evan suggested she help him with some chores around the house. At first, Lyra hesitated. She was used to being scolded when she tried to help. But Evan guided her patiently. "Can you hand me that cloth?" he asked. Lyra handed it over carefully. "Good. Now let's clean this shelf together," Evan said. He showed her how to wipe the dust without knocking over the small tools and gadgets he kept. Lyra followed every instruction. She felt a strange happiness growing inside her. For the first time, someone treated her as capable instead of a burden. Later, Evan introduced her to his friends. There was Katie, who worked as a teacher, Ben, who repaired ships, and Laura, who ran a small store nearby. They were curious when they saw Lyra. "Is this your child?" Katie asked softly, unsure. Evan nodded. "Yes, she needs a home. I want her to have one." Lyra felt nervous. The humans looked at her differently. Some seemed scared of her glowing skin, while others stared with curiosity. She shrank a little, but Evan placed his hand on her shoulder. "It's okay. They are friends. You don't need to be afraid." Over the next few days, Lyra began learning about life outside the orphanage. She learned how to cook simple meals, how to sweep the floors properly, and how to clean the small living space they shared. Evan never yelled or punished her. He corrected gently when she made mistakes. One evening, while cleaning, Lyra accidentally dropped a small glass jar. It shattered into pieces on the floor. Her heart raced, and she froze, expecting to be scolded. Evan came over, knelt down, and began picking up the pieces. "It's okay, Lyra. Accidents happen. No harm done." She looked at him, surprised. "You're not mad?" "No," he said, smiling. "I'm glad you are helping. That's what matters." For the first time, Lyra felt like someone believed in her. She wanted to try harder, to do better, to be someone worth caring for. Evan also noticed how she reacted when she was scared. Her skin glowed brighter when she felt nervous or sad. He learned to speak softly, move slowly, and offer gentle encouragement. Little by little, Lyra started to trust him completely. One night, she woke up from a nightmare. She dreamed she was back at the orphanage, being thrown out into the cold streets. Her skin glowed brightly in fear, casting strange light across the room. She ran to Evan's side and hid under the blanket he had made for her. Evan wrapped his arms around her gently. "It's okay, Lyra. You're safe here. Nobody will hurt you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She had never been comforted like this before. She clung to him, feeling warmth and protection she had never known. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't need to thank me," Evan said softly. "I care about you. That's enough." The days passed, and Evan began preparing for the legal process of adoption. He did not know exactly how it would work, but he wanted Lyra to have a permanent home. He called officials, filled out forms, and asked questions. It was confusing and complicated, but Evan refused to give up. Lyra watched him work and wanted to help. She asked questions, repeated the words she heard, and sometimes brought him small things he might need. She felt important, useful, and loved. One afternoon, they visited a government office where adoption cases were handled. Lyra's hands trembled as they walked in. She had never been in a place like this. The humans there looked serious and busy. A woman named Megan, a social worker, greeted them. She was strict but kind. "So, you want to adopt this child?" she asked Evan. "Yes," he said firmly. "I want to give her a home." Megan looked at Lyra. "And you want to live with him?" Lyra nodded immediately. "Yes. I want to stay with Evan. He cares about me." Megan's eyes softened. She asked Lyra questions about her past, her feelings, and how she had been treated. Lyra answered honestly, telling about the orphanage, the caretaker, and how no one had wanted her. Megan listened carefully. She nodded, writing notes. "It sounds like you have had a very hard time. I will make sure your case is reviewed fairly." As they left the office, Lyra held Evan's hand tightly. She felt a sense of hope growing inside her. She had never had anyone fight for her before. Now, someone cared enough to try. Back home, Lyra tried to learn more about humans. She watched Evan interact with his friends, saw how they laughed, worked together, and supported each other. She wanted to be part of that world, to belong, to have a family that cared. Evan noticed her curiosity. "Do you want to learn more about humans?" he asked one evening. "Yes," Lyra said eagerly. "I want to understand everything." He smiled. "Then I'll teach you. Little by little, you'll see that humans can be kind and strong. You can be part of this world if you want." Lyra's glow dimmed, not from fear, but from calm. She felt safe and accepted for the first time. The idea that she could belong somewhere felt almost magical. As the weeks passed, Evan's friends also became more comfortable with Lyra. Katie helped her with reading and writing. Ben showed her some small tools and gadgets. Laura brought treats and snacks, making sure she had foods that were safe for her alien diet. Lyra began to smile more, laugh more, and even play small games with the humans. One afternoon, while helping Evan fix a small engine, Lyra asked him quietly, "Will I always have a home with you?" Evan looked at her, serious but gentle. "Yes, Lyra. No matter what happens, I will do everything I can to keep you safe and happy. You are part of my life now." Tears of relief filled her eyes. She nodded, clutching a small tool tightly in her hand. She had never felt this sure about anything before. That night, as she lay in bed, Lyra thought about her life. The orphanage, the streets, the loneliness. It all felt far away. Now, she had a person who cared about her, a home where she belonged, and a chance at a life she had never dreamed possible. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. Part 3. The system tries to take her away. Life with Evan was beginning to feel normal to Lyra. She woke up each morning, ate breakfast with him, and helped around the house. Sometimes they went outside to the colony streets, where she could watch humans and aliens moving about. She even made small friends at the market, though she was still shy. But happiness rarely comes without challenges. One morning, there was a knock at the door. Lyra froze. She had learned to be careful around strangers. Evan opened the door to find two officials in uniform. "Good morning," one said. "We are here regarding the adoption of Lyra." Evan invited them inside. Lyra clung to his hand nervously. The officials introduced themselves as part of the colony's child services. They asked Evan many questions about his home, his work, and his life. They also asked Lyra questions. "Do you want to live here with Mr. Carter?" one asked. Lyra nodded quickly. "Yes. I want to stay with him. He cares about me." The officials scribbled notes and nodded. They said they would need more time to make a final decision. That night, Evan reassured her. "They are just doing their job, Lyra. You don't need to worry. We will get through this together." But over the next few days, Lyra noticed a change. The officials returned several times. Each time, they asked more questions. Not just to Evan, but to neighbors, shopkeepers, and even strangers in the colony. Lyra began to feel anxious. One afternoon, the head of the colony orphanage called Evan. He sat at the small table, feeling a cold knot in his stomach as he listened. "They are saying that Lyra was unstable and violent," the official said. "They want to review her case carefully before approving adoption. They claim you are not suitable to raise an alien child." Evan's fists clenched. "That is not true. Lyra is gentle, kind, and smart. She belongs with me. I will prove it." The orphanage had spread false reports to make Evan seem unfit. They wanted to erase their own mistakes and keep their reputation clean. Lyra heard about it and felt scared. "Evan, will they take me away?" she whispered. "No," he said firmly, holding her hand. The next day, they met with Megan, the social worker. She was serious and had many papers in front of her. She asked Lyra to describe her days at the orphanage. Lyra spoke softly at first, but Megan encouraged her. I tried to help," Lyra said. "I cleaned. I helped the younger children. But they never wanted me. They said I was different. Then they threw me out." Megan listened carefully, nodding. "You were treated unfairly," she said. "I will make sure your story is heard." Lyra felt a small spark of hope. Someone was listening. Someone believed her. But she still worried. The officials from the colony kept visiting, taking notes, and asking questions that seemed meant to scare her. One day, the orphanage staff sent a message demanding that Lyra return immediately. They said she was too alien to live with humans. Evan refused to comply. "They are lying," he told Lyra firmly. "You are safe with me. I will not let them take you." Lyra clung to him, tears in her eyes. "I don't want to go back there," she said. "I can't. Please, don't let them take me." Evan hugged her tightly. "You won't go back. I will protect you. That is my promise." The colony officials tried to argue that humans were not suitable guardians for alien children. They cited laws and rules about alien care. But Megan supported Lyra's voice. She reminded the council that the child's wishes mattered. Lyra was old enough to express her feelings, and she had clearly chosen Evan. The officials from the orphanage were furious. They tried to present old records, showing that Lyra had been difficult or troublesome. But Megan had already investigated and found inconsistencies. Many of the reports were exaggerated or false. Throughout this process, Lyra's glow would flare whenever she felt scared. Evan learned to calm her by holding her hand, speaking softly, and keeping her close. Slowly, Lyra began to trust that she would not be taken away. While the legal process continued, Evan continued caring for her daily needs. He bought ingredients for meals she liked, helped her learn more about human culture, and even read bedtime stories to her. Lyra began to laugh again. She began to feel safe in ways she had never felt before. One afternoon, Lyra asked, "Evan, will they really leave me alone?" He looked at her with determination. "I don't know if they will leave quietly, but I will make sure that you stay with me. No one can take you without your choice. You are my daughter now. That counts for everything." Lyra smiled faintly. She had never felt a father's protection before, and now she was beginning to understand what it meant. The colony officials tried to intimidate Evan with strict rules and warnings. They suggested that his life was too busy, that he worked too much, and that Lyra needed more attention than he could give. Evan responded with patience and facts. He showed them his schedule, his home, and the careful way he had been caring for Lyra. He also showed proof of her well-being. Her health was good, she was learning quickly, and she was happy. His friends, Katie, Laura, and Ben, wrote letters supporting him and Lyra. They spoke of the way Evan cared for her, the kindness he had shown, and how Lyra had flourished in his care. The orphanage continued to argue, but their lies were weakening under the truth. Lyra could feel the tension around her. Every time the officials came, she hugged Evan tightly, feeling the need for protection. One evening, Evan said gently, "Lyra, no matter what happens, we will face it together. You have a voice, and I will make sure it is heard." Lyra nodded. She felt courage growing inside her. She realized that she had people who believed in her, who would fight for her. For the first time, she felt like she could stand up for herself. Finally, after weeks of meetings, interviews, and reports, Megan gave her assessment. She praised Evan for his care, explained Lyra's happiness and growth under his guardianship, and recommended that the adoption be approved. The council listened carefully. The officials from the orphanage were frustrated, but could not deny the evidence. Lyra's voice was clear and strong. "I want to stay with Evan. I am happy with him. He cares about me." The decision came slowly, but eventually, the council ruled in their favor. Lyra would stay with Evan, and the adoption process could continue. The orphanage staff were furious, but there was nothing they could do. Lyra felt tears in her eyes. She hugged Evan tightly, feeling a joy she had never known. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't need to thank me," Evan said, holding her close. "I promised to protect you, remember?" "Yes," Lyra said, smiling through her tears. "You kept your promise." That night, as she lay in her small bed, she thought about the weeks that had passed. Fear, loneliness, and uncertainty had filled her days. But now, she had hope, trust, and love. She finally understood what it felt like to belong somewhere. She looked at Evan as he sat quietly, reviewing paperwork for the final adoption. He glanced up and smiled at her. "Sleep well, Lyra. Tomorrow will be even better." For the first time, Lyra truly believed him. She closed her eyes, feeling safe and happy. She had survived the system, and she had survived the fear, and now she had a chance at a future filled with love, protection, and family. Lyra's glow softened, changing from fear to peace. She had faced her darkest days, and now, with Evan by her side, she could finally begin to dream of a life where she was wanted and cherished.